Hey everyone, my name's Catherine and I thought I would do a video just kind of introducing myself. So I realized I've been making videos on this channel for almost all of 2020. I haven't done a proper introduction video, so I thought that'd be kind of a fun idea to do so that you can kind of get to know me better. I always enjoy watching people's videos when I actually know more about them and kind of can make a connection with the person. I am 26 years old and I live in the Seattle area in Washington State in the United States, and I've been wanting to basically make a YouTube channel for many years now, but there's just so many reasons as to why I put it off, whether it was like I don't know exactly what I would make videos on, or I can't do it, or it's a lot of work and I just don't know if I can, or I don't know how. I also feel like with a lot of things with YouTube, I was overthinking. I was thinking, well, I have to know what I'm going to be making, what direction of the video, where's the direction of the channel going to go, videos, blah blah blah. But what I don't realize is that everyone starts and then they just go from there. They don't know where they're going when they start. They just kind of start. And I, for some reason, was like, I need to know everything before I can even start. But there's no way I can know everything until I start, because you're going to make mistakes along the way. You're going to change routes. You're going, you don't know where your life is taking you, or how YouTube's gonna change or whatever. And so no one ever knows. Anyway, I'm going to now rewind up until I was born, until, let's say, until end of high school. I basically moved around from like Seattle to like cities just outside Seattle, but in the Seattle area. I made some really good friends in high school and all of that I'm still in contact with, still in touch with, and had overall a good high school experience. I graduated in 2012 and I decided to go to Seattle Pacific University, which is a school that's well known in the region, not necessarily in the country. I went into college not knowing what I wanted to major in. I've always been a late bloomer, and for me it was important to find a school that was close to me because I wanted to commute. I had a hard time making friends, honestly. At college, I've never been like the popular girl, but I've always had a fairly easy time making friends up until college, so that was a new experience for me that I didn't love. I feel like everyone after class would go back to their dorms and go with their, meet their friends that they've made in the dorms, and I couldn't do that. And I feel like there was a lounge for people who were commuters, but most commuters were juniors or seniors, and to me, like, they were so old. When you're a freshman in college, they just seemed so old. It was just hard, and it got to the point where I wanted to dorm my second year. I dormed my sophomore year and my junior year, and it was okay experiences. I did enjoy college more, but it wasn't like a life-altering, changing, everything's amazing now experience. I actually spent 4.5 years finishing up my bachelor's because I was being so indecisive with my major. I finally ended up choosing business, and then I quickly changed to communications with a business minor. I knew I wanted to study abroad. I didn't travel that much my whole life up until college, and then with college I started slowly traveling more. I traveled to Eastern Europe to see my family that still lives there. I went on a cruise or two with my parents. I started there's these trips, they're called like Kentucky. There's also like EF College Break, where they're like trips that people go on, and they're in their I think 18 to like early 30s. You can travel with a group of people, and it's like a tour group. So I've slowly started getting into those, and I knew I wanted to study abroad, and there was a study abroad fair, and that is when I learned about Semester at Sea, which is one of my hands down favorite experiences I've ever done. I ended up going in spring of 2016. I've made more friends and kept more in touch with my friends from my study abroad experience than my undergraduate experience in college, and I feel like that's not normal necessarily, but that's what happened with me. And so that was the case, and it was so amazing. I will say, with new experiences, I get really nervous and anxious and overwhelmed, and I think of like all the bad things that could happen. I almost didn't go on Semester at Sea because I was so afraid that what had happened in undergrad, where I didn't know any friends, I was trying to make friends and it wasn't working. I was so afraid that was going to happen with Semester at Sea, except with Semester at Sea I would be in the middle of the ocean, because basically you live, it's like Sweet Life on Deck, if you've seen that Disney show. It's like where you live on a ship and you take classes on the ship, and then you go into pour into countries and you explore the countries and you kind of travel the world. Yes, that exists, and I did not know until college, and when I found out that something like that exists in real life, I was like, I'm doing that. But anyway, I was afraid that would happen where I wouldn't make friends and I'd be stuck in the middle of the ocean away from all my family and friends. But actually, on the contrary, I had an amazing experience and I loved it so much. And I have actually lots of different videos about semester tea on my channel if you want to learn more about that. I ended up in 2017, June of 2017, graduating from South Pacific University with my bachelor's in communications and a business administration minor. And I spent I technically finished in March and then I came back to graduate in June. And basically, I had a very long summer from like April until September of off and on traveling. Like, I did the classic, I graduated from college and I want to spend this time where I'm not committed to class or to a job or whatever and just travel the world. And I wouldn't say I traveled all over the world, but I traveled throughout the US and Europe, because on semester at sea I went mostly to Asia and Africa. And I spent like a month out of that time with family in Eastern Europe, which was really nice. In like September of 2017, I came back home to the Seattle area, and that's when like life hit, and I was just had that like quarter life crisis of, what am I doing next in my life? I don't know, and I'm freaked out. I applied to so many different jobs, heard nothing. When I was in semester at sea, I learned about a bunch of different programs that allow you to do, you know, some kind of something while traveling. And I wanted to try some of that. And I was also thinking about grad school when I graduated from undergrad as well. So I really took the September to December of 2017 to see what kind of jobs are in my area in Seattle and apply to them. I was constantly applying to things, also seeing what kind of grad schools there are. Part of me at that point, I was, with all my traveling I'd done that year throughout college, especially with semester at sea, I felt confident that I could live out of state and be fine. And I was like, I kind of want to go to grad school outside of Washington State. And part of me was wanting to go to the East Coast. I was applying to these different grad schools. So most of them required the GRE. It's like the ACT or SAT for undergrad, but for grad school. I ended up studying for that. That's quite a long process. I spent several months studying for that and taking that. And then going back to semester at sea and learning about abroad programs, I wanted to, in between undergrad and grad school, was wanting to do something abroad before grad school. And so I thought about doing a working holiday visa in Australia. So for Americans, you can actually go to Australia or New Zealand, and if you're, I think, under 35, 18 to 35, something like that, you can go pretty easily on a working holiday visa and work and live in those countries for up to a year. So that's what I did. I ended up actually though doing a internship, and I worked at a like local small video production company, because one thing I regret with college is that I wish I had done more internships and gotten more work experience, and I wanted to get that while I was abroad so I could kind of do two things at once. And I moved to Melbourne, Australia in February of 2018, and at that point I also was hearing back from grad schools that I would be starting in the fall, and I knew at that point I was accepted into American University, which is where I ended up going actually. And so I knew going to Australia that I had for sure a plan of going to grad school in the fall. And I moved to Australia. I absolutely loved it so much. It was incredible. It was kind of hard making friends, not gonna lie, because I didn't go to school there. I worked there, and I worked in a very small company with two older men, which my mom was freaked out by. She found it really sketchy, but it wasn't at all. I went through World Internships, which is a organization that helps you find abroad internships, not just in Australia. And they found housing for me. They found my internship. They helped set up my flights and all of that. But I'm also good though at just being an introvert and an only child, just entertaining myself, going on solo things. And so for the most part I was fine, and I loved Australia so much. Like, I fell in love with Melbourne so much, and so I wasn't that upset just having less friends. And as time went on, I made more friends and it was fine. I only was there for like 4 months or so. I wanted to have some time during the summer to travel to other places and also be home before moving for grad school. But also when I was in Australia, I went and traveled around Australia as well, working around my work schedule. And then on the way back, I actually had a friend from study abroad, semester at sea. She was doing the same thing but in Auckland, New Zealand, and I flew to see her. And then a friend of ours from semester at sea, she was down to just fly to New Zealand for fun, and so she came and met us. Flew back home then, and like I said, had the summer to kind of resituate myself. And I had decided to do grad school in the fall of 2018 at American University in Washington, DC. It was the first time where I had my very own apartment, because up until then I either dormed or I shared an apartment or I shared a room with someone. Although it was grad school, it was different than undergrad. My program, there was a lot less people. The people that I did meet, I was a lot closer with them, and so I met people that really had my interests. So I brought in my interest of media and communications and all of that, journalism, along with my interest in international relations and all things international and global. For me personally, I enjoyed grad school a lot more than undergrad, because at that point I really knew what I wanted to study. Now I'm at an internship at the United Nations Environment Program, technically working remotely out of the New York office. I'm really happy and thankful that I have an internship during this pandemic. I also have a dog that I love. Her name is Lola, and she is a 11-year-old toy poodle. I got her in early high school, like sophomore year, so she was born in 2009, I believe. So that's kind of been a gist about me. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to let me know anything about you or anything we have in common, let me know down below, and I hope to see you later in a future video. Bye.